Welcome to Mick and the Psychic, where we leave no stone unturned as we explore all things outside the apparent physical realm.
There is no intent to teach or make you believe or disbelieve anything. It is just a safe space to listen and explore with us.
So for this next episode, you have permission to open your heart and mind as you join myself and Xavier on this deep dive into the unknown.
She changed my spirit. We had to get you a whole new one because the damage was too far gone. We couldn't repair it. So we just had to get you a whole new one. I walked out of that session brand new. It was the most incredible thing I have ever experienced, ever.
We are very blessed again to have another fantastic guest on this show. And we have what is a self-proclaimed wellness engineer, which entails so many different things, but probably wellness is the best way of describing Anna Peters, who is an intuitive healer. She works with anti-aging, nutrition for DNA. She's a speaker, she's a trainer, she's an entrepreneur, and now a best-selling author. You know, we've got to add that to the title as well with the beautiful, optimistic Xavier. Anna has a diploma in health and skin science and studied nutrition for like 35 years, educated by some of the world's leading doctors, professors, geneticists, herbalists, naturopaths, and intuitive healers in all areas of health, mind, body, and spirit. Anna uses DNA diagnostics, energetic frequencies, complementary medicines to achieve the desired health outcome. Hence, you just have to call her a wellness engineer. Anna is gifted with the ability to channel energy, which can decode programs already pre-coded in the being and recode DNA, thus freeing the person to be happy, successful, and uses it as part of her treatment plan to enlighten, accelerate personal development, and increase awareness, intuition, and foresight. That's pretty interesting. Anna is also the founder of Jandy Candy. Is that how you say it? I love that.
So cute.
A world filled with children's educational songs and animation characters. That is so cool. She has experience at designing, directing, and producing entire fashion shows, as well as winning national tournaments, martial arts tournaments, competing in like the weapons category. There's so much out there. I don't even know, how far I should go. So we should just introduce the weapon herself, Anna Peters. Anna, the weapon Peters. Welcome to Mick and the Psychic.
Oh my God, that's the end of the podcast. That was so long.
I actually have never heard anybody say it, and listening to it's like, oh my goodness me.
You're a busy lady.
No one has ever said it like that before, so you did really well. Well
My
done.
pleasure.
And Anna,
pleasure.
what do you do with DNA? Because
Mhm.
35 years of learning, you do not look old enough. What have you been doing with
That's
your
true.
DNA?
This is proof here. Or is that a filter? I need to
Oh
put
my
that
goodness.
filter on.
Oh
How
no,
do
I
put
do
that
definitely
filter on?
have. I definitely have some filtering. Doing.
No.
I
You definitely
absolutely
look younger than you are.
but it's a common thing. I mean, my cellular age is, I would say, mid-30s, and every time I meet people for the first time, they get confused, and because they always think that I'm at least 15 years younger, and that's a really nice thing because I've worked hard. I mean, it's if you had seen me when I was very critically ill, I looked and walked like an 80-year-old. And when I say looked, I mean the energy of me was 80 because I was exhausted and there was very little light left, and that completely changed and overnight. I mean, when my energy healer found me, she changed my spirit, and she said to me, we had to get you a whole new one because the damage was too far gone. We couldn't repair it. So we just had to get you a whole new one. And I thought, I didn't know that was possible. I didn't. And I walked out of that session brand new. It was the most incredible thing I have ever experienced, ever.
I'm just going to have questions now.
A brand new one. A brand new what?
Soul.
So here's how I understand.
Mm-hmm.
How I understood.
I can help with this too if you get stuck, because I know exactly what you mean.
I understand that the string is the soul connection right back to the creator. Mm-hmm. And that never changes. And you could almost call it the cord if you want to, invisible cord, right? I'll say that as the soul. But the matrix or the electric body, which is a pattern or the golden grid, that way, because that's how I see it. Like I see the whole body shift out, or the whole matrix, which is the spirit. So let's just say that's the code. Let's say that that whole matrix, the golden grid of that individual, is the spirit electric body. And electricity is a frequency. So whatever that frequency is across, and sometimes I see the numbers, sometimes I just see the threads, and I see all the numbers change, and I go, okay, so this is what's happened. And so I understand that that is the spirit, and that's what they changed. So the electricity, there was hardly any light. That's the light. So you've got the, I call it the soul as the super conscious, connected to the all one, the all knowing, the creator. And then the super conscious, or the superconscious, or the subconscious being the electric body, and our conscious mind, which is the ego, or whatever we've put into this computer in this life. And the subconscious stores all of the data from previous lifetimes. It's in the cell, it's in the genetics, you come in with it. So you've got all your ancestors' memories and all your pre-incarnations all included in that part of you. So that's how I differentiate the three.
Gotcha. Okay. So when you were in there, this energy healer was looking at your grid, I guess, the energy body, and just going, whoa, this is so dim. We're going to have to build a new one? Or is it like, you get a shelf company from a lawyer? Like, what happens here? Like, what happened?
So she was working from a channel that resonated with me, and I didn't know in the first two sessions. I think it was by the third or the fourth session I asked the questions, because I didn't really understand what she was doing, because it was all silent. It was this telepathic change.
Okay.
So there was no discussion during the session. And in the first session, I'll lead up to that question of what actually happened. In the first session, when we finished, and she brings you back, because you sort of drift off. There's beautiful music playing, and you go into an alpha state, and you drift. And when I came back, I thought it was only 15 minutes, and this happens often with my clients, but a whole hour goes by. And she said, from now on, you say no. And I thought, I don't know what she means by that. And I said, what do you mean by that? And she said, well, you say yes to everybody, and your time is not your own. So you're never happy. You just give your time to everyone. And that comes from being rejected at birth. And I thought, rejected at birth? And she said, it comes from trying to please all the time, because you were rejected. So you're seeking approval all the time. I thought, okay. So I went home thinking, what? So I said to my mum, didn't you want me when I was born? She said, no, it wasn't me. It was your father. He didn't come to see me in the hospital for 3 days because you were a girl and not a boy. And so you were rejected pretty much. So the rejection came up later on as well with my other family member, my only sister, my only other sibling. And, it was an interesting. So that was the first experience where I started to realize that my childhood had been, I was obviously affected without me even knowing. And why I was so unhappy, And it was interesting because between that session and the next session, I thought, oh God, how am I going to say no? And people would ask me, Anna, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And deep down inside, I just didn't want to do it. I didn't want to go along with them. I had other things. I was tired. I wasn't feeling well. I was unwell. So I'd go and say the words yes were right at the tip of my tongue. But what I couldn't believe what was happening was the words no would come out, and I had no control of it. Because
so you had help with that?
The actual, whatever was in my heart and whatever I was actually was the truth would come out of my mouth, and I couldn't believe that the no would come out.
Wow.
And I'd be so surprised that I said, I can't believe I said no. I can't believe I said no. So my higher self was actually in control. And that was basically, it pushed the ego, the false sense of self, right out of the way, and it took over. And that was interesting, because if your mind is saying yes, but the words no come out, and it surprises even you, that was wow. And it was happening often, and I thought, wow, that wasn't too hard. And then I was getting used to it, and it felt better, and I felt happier because I was actually saying what I really was feeling. It wasn't right for me to. And people, and she said to me, actually, she said, you will find that your friends who are your friends are not really going to be your friends, because they're your friends because you've been saying yes the whole time. Now you're going to start to be saying no, and it may not work. And so those friends that, you know, I had started to drop off because it didn't suit them anymore, right? So my time started to become a bit my own, and so I started to get a little bit happier.
We love interviewing leaders from different walks of life about all things outside the apparent physical realm.
And the one constant is that these phenomena are transmitted through energy.
So we've teamed up with Subtle Energy Science to bring our listeners energetically encoded technology you can use on your phone, laptop, computer, or tablet.
Turning your device into a powerful personal quantum energy tool. We're not the creators, nor are we qualified enough to explain it, but there is a mind-blowing number of scientific studies available on their website.
So what are we qualified enough to explain?
Yeah, not a lot, but we've tried it ourselves. We've blind tested it on unsuspecting loved ones, and we know that it works. That's why we're so excited and pumped to promote this technology.
There are stacks of products, but for July only, we've got 20% off Pineal's sleep support with promo code MATP-861. We've been using the Pineal sleep support over the last few weeks.
And we've noted deeper sleep and at times profound dreams. So have a pen and paper by your bed.
Link is in the notes. Back to the show.
Second time I went, it was interesting because I was restricted at that point. I was not working. I was exhausted. I had a physical condition. I had migraines. I wasn't sleeping. You know, we didn't know what was wrong with me, and I'd been searching and searching and searching, studying and studying and studying. And so I felt restricted because up until then I was a successful athlete and had won, you know, just about everything, competing, successful in business. And then I didn't have my health. So all of a sudden I wasn't even successful when I was used to earning a minimum of $2,000 a week cash at the time. You know, I'm not even in my 20s yet. And so, you know, I was earning a lot of money. And so for a period of, there was a whole chunk of time, and I don't know exact timeline. I have to go back and check to tell you exactly how long I was in pain for. But she came in when I was at the end of my life where there was very little light left. But the second session, she said to me, so you can understand I felt restricted financially, physically, financially, and mentally, because I was emotionally, you know, I'd been rejected from my creator, my father, and my sister didn't want me. And so it was hard growing up. And so when the second session, she said to me, from now on, there are no more restrictions. And I thought, what do you mean, Pat? And she said, well, Anna, you're restricted in every way, but we've removed all those restrictions. So you're going to feel like nothing's changed in your life, but everything in your mind has changed.
Wow.
And I walked out of there feeling like I was brand new, right? I felt free. And she said, we've removed the contracts, we've removed the shackles, and I could feel it. And it was, I think, about the third session where I said to her, next time, where does this all come from? I was starting to panic a little bit because I'm thinking, I'm with Jesus, I'm scared now because I don't know where she's working from.
Making sure she's, honest and not coming from a negative place. Yeah.
Yeah. And she said to me, I said to her, Pat, where does all this come from? And she said, Jesus, Anna, comes from Jesus. And I thought, and that's when I realized that my prayer was answered, because before, and the way we came to meet, if you understand, was quite amazing. I'm getting to that point. It was around that time when she said to me about we had to get rid of your spirit because do you realize, she said to me during session, do you realize you were on your way out? And I said, yes.
Yeah, I was going to say you probably would have realized that for sure, the way
Yeah,
you
I
were
did.
feeling.
She said
Wow.
only had a spark left.
Wow.
And she said, so we had to get you a whole new spirit, which is why I felt brand new. I walked out seeing things differently. The trees, they were glowing, energy. I could see particles moving. My whole world went from, it felt like I was in a heaven, you know, it felt like I was in a magical place just by staring, looking out, you know.
Wow.
Whereas before it was all dark, everything was dark, and I couldn't see a way out. And so it was a very interesting experience. But how we came to meet was because I was feeling, before I met her, I knew I was at the end, and I had exhausted all the areas that I knew, and I couldn't work out a way out from, you know, 24/7 pain, painkillers, and all sorts of things that were closing me down even more. And I remember praying. I remember saying, you know, I don't want to take my life. It's not what I'm about. I never give up, but I can't see a way out. I've tried everything. I have no support. I have no help. I know you're there because of all my experiences as a child, with spirits and, you know, guardians that I met. And I said, please send someone to help me or beam me up out of this body, get me out of here, or send someone to help me, because I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to go forward, and I don't know who to turn to. Please send someone to help me. And so I remember getting a phone call saying, Anna, we need a presenter. We need you to come and present, you know, all about the anatomy of the skin and everything. And I thought, oh my God, how am I going to do it? You know, I had to take painkillers because I couldn't even turn the steering wheel. It was really hard.
Wow.
So I was taking Panadine Forte, you know, and it was, you know, you had to sort of drink coffee at the same time to sort of stay alert.
Yeah.
You had to put on a smiley face and be a presenter, and that was my ego, having to call on my ego. And
well, that's where the ego works well. Like the ego isn't always
only
bad.
time. It's the only time it works well. And so I went there, and there was about, I don't remember exactly how many people. I would say there was probably between 50 to 70 people in the room. And I was standing up, and I had, because of all the presenting training, I knew how to engage the audience, and I knew how to involve the audience and present to the audience and get eye contact and responses, and I'd throw things out. And there was this one lady in the front row to the far right, and she sat so still. And at one point I thought, is she breathing? Because I couldn't get a response, no movement. And she sat so still, no, not one bit of, I couldn't get a movement. And I thought, you know, and I kept looking.
Trying to get some emotion.
Something. And I thought, so she got my attention. I'll tell you leading up to it, but later on, she said during that speech, I was told I had to sit very, very still.
Wow.
So she was being told to sit still so that it would get my attention.
Oh, that's funny.
And that's how she got my attention. I was so curious, I had to go and speak to her at the end of the presentation.
The universe is funny.
Yes, so
incredible.
I went to her and I said, oh, hello, my name's Anna. I said, you know, how did you come to this presentation today? And she said, we share a mutual friend. I said, really, who? And she said, Ilya Bennett. And I said, oh, Ilya, how is he? She said, he's great. He's my neighbour. He lives down the road. And he said that I should come and see you. And that you're a very good speaker. And I said, what do you do? You know, I'm now curious, right? This lady. She said, I help people get to where they want to go in a straight line without having to do this.
That's a great description.
And I thought, oh God, I need this lady. That's the thought.
We all need
That's
this
a
lady.
perfect example of how the universe works. Is you've asked for help to help you because your spirit didn't know what was going on. You felt like you needed to leave, whispered in the neighbor's ear to the woman to come to you. Like, it's just, you got asked. It's all exactly, this is how it works, people.
Energy. That's right.
And I love that. And the how you're talking about the spirit leaving the body and stuff, that makes perfect sense to me. I read your chapter and I just giggled. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Other people read that and go, what do you mean getting a new spirit? What are you talking about? So yeah, that happens because sometimes when we've decided we want to leave, or on a soul level, we've decided we want to leave, your higher self. So when you were saying about the string, the higher self, we've talked about this on other podcasts, your whole soul could not fit in your body. You'd explode. It's too much.
That's right.
It's a slither. And some people have like a bigger amount of it than others, and that doesn't matter. It's just they've got more spiritual work to do or something. That's why they're a bigger energy.
Yeah.
Other people have a smaller bit, and then yours was diminishing and you're ready to go. And so there's a thing, and I can't remember what it's called. I know Dolores Cannon explains about it in some of her books that she's done. That people have explained it to her, I should say, when they're under hypnosis.
Channel,
Yeah, they've channeled it. So yeah, part of you decides to tap out, but it's the other part of your soul. And this is why you saw everything sparkly and fresh and you're renewed. They come back in with all the same memories, like you just swap, but it's still you. It's still part of that same soul. It's just renewed and refreshed. And they're like, okay, ready to take on the rest, because your body wasn't supposed to die. The physical body, you're supposed to keep going in this instance. And obviously it doesn't happen for everybody.
Oh, absolutely. And it doesn't need to happen for everyone. But what I had, what she did was give me new abilities. I was able to download data. It's like I had a degree in an area that I've never studied. So all of a sudden I had a marketing degree and I just knew where things had to go.
Yes.
And, it was extraordinary what happened. The intelligence was bright. And if I go back to remembering how bright I was as a child, I was very bright. And of course, I was always being told to be quiet, to shut it down, to be quiet, don't talk, be quiet. And I mean, I was singing and everything. It was always be quiet. So, and speak when you're spoken to. And so how does a child who's been given so much energy because they have a purpose to reach a lot more people, so they need a stronger presence, they need the stronger energy, and that was also to help me survive what was going to come. That was part. They had to give me such strength to be able to get through what I had been dished out, and to learn. As part of the learning, it's going to be difficult. So I had to have that extra energy, otherwise I wouldn't have survived it. And I wouldn't have even known to ask help, and I would have just exited. And there were times that I was very, very close, very close. The thought was there all the time, but it's not what my heart really wanted. It was just because there was, when you can't see the way out, and you're in too much pain. And, other people turn to drugs, other people turn to the bottle, and I didn't turn to any of that because it was against my nature. And so when she said to me, I help people get to where you want it in a straight line, I knew that I had to see her, but I still was curious. I thought, well, what do you do? So I said, so what do you do? And she said, and so she must have known that they were telling her what to say.
Of course.
She said, oh, I work with musicians. And I said, oh, I'm a musician. And so she said, oh, I said, so she pulls out her business card. It just had her name on it.
I love it.
A lot of information. But I knew, in my heart, I knew I had to see this woman.
Which means she's either an energy healer or she works for ASIO. You know what I mean? It's just like, hi, I'm Tom. I do stuff. Here's my card. You can call me.
And what happened next was very interesting. When you're in such a low point in your life, you're in self-sabotage mode. I mean, that's where I was, and because of the self-worth and all of that, and
your energy's down there. Everything's down there.
Absolutely.
So your thought patterns are there, and it's like a feedback loop. Entropy.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, don't forget that everybody else would never have come outside of me, because everybody else thought that I was the tough, successful, exterior, always happy, successful, and that's all they saw. Nobody else saw anything else. They would never have even known that I was suffering,
including you. Well, that's how, including you, that's how you identified until, And I wonder, this isn't the same for everyone, obviously. I mean, this is specifically asking you in this case. Do you think that for you to get to where you're at now, and we'll talk about kind of what you're doing for people as well, but for you to get to your path of where you're at now, perhaps the fact that you were so successful and things were coming quite well to you, that it, you know, it worked quite well, if things were maybe a bit easier for you, you could be a bit of a kick-ass person. Do you think that there was maybe some kind of intervention for you to have to not rely on any of your own ability, your intellect, your physical nature and everything? Do you think it needed to crash right down for you to get to rock bottom, to find something higher than just your own physical ability?
Here's the thing. I realized, you know, absolutely, because first and foremostly, when you're successful and you're going at 100 miles an hour, but something inside me wasn't happy. I wasn't happy because I was ignoring who I was. I was living the life for my father. I wanted to please him because he wanted a male, he wanted a son. So I did everything that a son would do and better.
Kick people's ass with weapons.
Exactly.
You know, like
So
everything.
she chose
Right?
that. Oh,
I was the first
Really?
assistant female coach soccer for a senior male soccer team in Melbourne.
Wow. Well, okay. Yeah, right.
Melbourne United, who then became Carnegie Olympus. So for 4
Yeah, right.
years, I assisted the coaches in their physical fitness because I had enormous fitness at that time. This is before I hit rock bottom, right? So it made the local newspaper, it made the Greek newspaper because it's a Greek team, Greek family.
Yeah, that's right.
And my dad revealed that he introduced me because he wanted to marry me off. He wanted to get rid of me. So you can understand I was rejected all the time. And for me, it was, you know, I can do this and he'll love me now. He will show me love now. And so I was never happy with the life I was living because I wasn't living my own journey.
Yeah, you're doing it for him.
And I was, you know, and my spiritual side, which was me and my essence, was always suppressed from the time I was born.
Yeah.
So, and so when I hit rock bottom and I had to, that my guides had to give me, they had to stop me still long enough for me to work it out and for me to ask for help, because remember, they can't intervene. It's got to be your will. You have to ask for help and you've got to have faith to do that. And I had faith. I always had faith. It's just that nobody had taken me by the hand to teach me, because they don't teach us that in school. It's suppressed and you know, we don't get taught that. It's, you know, you've got to be taught the academics, because we need workers out there. We don't need people like you out there. We need workers, right? So you've got to go through the system, and we don't belong in the system, and that's a fact. We just don't belong. We're programmed differently. And so when she came in, and you know, and I was learning, and she was the guide that I needed. At, you know, and what a godsend she was, because she saved my life. Yes, and Jesus was working through her. And this went on for 10 years.
Wow.
And in that time, I got the new spirit upgrade. I still had a physical condition. We still didn't know what was wrong. And she said to me, she said, it's medical. And at the end of the 10 years, she said, you've moved so many lifetimes ahead. You will know all the people that you know from your past, but you will feel no connection. They'll be friends, but it'll be a different vibe. You know, you'll feel like you've moved so far beyond, because you've skipped so many lifetimes ahead. You know, you're going to move in a different direction, and it'll be hard to let go because, you know, and that was hard. It was really hard and I had to physically remove myself from the state, which is why I moved into state. I got the calling to move to Sydney. It was a repetitive message for 3 months, and I rang her up and I said, you know, I don't understand. I've never been there, but the message, and it won't leave. It's haunting me. I go to bed, I wake up thinking about Sydney. I go to sleep thinking about Sydney. She said, you've got to follow that. And so I did, and I had $800. I sold a clinic bed, and I had $800 to my name. We still hadn't worked out what was wrong with me. And she did say to me at the end, she said, you've got to get your physical body right. There's something wrong with you. It's medical. thinking, I've been everywhere, I've 5 specialists, I've tried every modality, nothing's helping. And we just didn't know. And so I left and went to Sydney, and that was the beginning of my healing. I had to actually remove myself from a very toxic community that had been created behind my back by some of my family members. And I didn't know that it was happening, and I didn't know what was being said. If you're the tall poppy, which is what it would have appeared for them, and somebody explained it to me, and I didn't even know what tall poppy syndrome meant. And my husband explained it to me. And, you know, I met my husband 5 years or 6 years after I was in Sydney. And it was 6 months after my mum died. Now, my mum was the only person that knew my strength, and she had similar things, but because of her upbringing, it was indoctrinated that we never spoke about it, which is why she shut it down with me, even though she believed it. She knew that I had the ability. You know, I dreamt the Tatsloto numbers, and well, I didn't know they were Tatsloto numbers. I just said, oh, you know, I had a dream last night of numbers. And she said, what were they? You know, and she's writing them down. And I thought, she's always said to me, don't talk about that. You're not meant to talk about it. It's witchcraft, it's this. And I'm thinking, but I'm not a bad person. You know? I don't do those things. And but that was her upbringing, her indoctrination. But she knew, and I knew that she had it, because she would, when I was dating, she could tell me everything about the person I was dating. And you know, in my first couple of my relationships, I'd say, Mum, what do you know? I mean, what do you know, Mum? She knew everything. And by the time I got to 30, I was going to her and saying, what do you think about this one?
That's it.
Because
Give me a report.
she proved it to me over and over again. So I knew that obviously I got it from her, but I didn't know the extent of what I had. And when she died, she definitely gave me back a lot that I was, you know, keeping her alive. I understand. I was told by another psychic that, you know, your energy was keeping her alive. Do you realize that? And I said, well, that explains when she took her last breath, and I saw her spirit exit the crown chakra. And that was, you know, it was like, I remember my sister was in the room, and I said, did you see that? Did you see that? Did you see that? And she didn't see anything, of course. And I felt this wolf of energy that came back to me. And I didn't have any tears when my mum died, because I got the message that Mum was going to die a year and a half before. I actually told my flatmate at the time and my girlfriend. They didn't believe me. And I was bawling my eyes out because I got that message that Mum was going to go. And oh my goodness, I'll never forget that. And I had just lost her sister, my closest aunt at the time. And, you know, she just passed 6 months, and then I got the message that my mum was going to pass, and I thought, this can't be happening. I got them, and they said, you're just upset because you just lost your aunt. I said, you don't understand. I got the message that my aunt was going to die 12 months before she died, and now it's happening. And I said, and you know, I don't want this to be happening. It can't be happening. It's too early. I haven't found my man, my husband. I haven't had my children. It's too early. It's too early. I've lost the 2 most precious women in my life. It can't be happening right now. And sure enough, Mum got diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And, you know, and I knew it was coming, because I remember she had a dream. And this is a very interesting thing. Mum never met her mum, because her mother died straight after she was born.
Oh.
And so her stepmom, unfortunately, ripped up that she was sent off to a boarding school, and when she came back, her stepmom had ripped up all of the images of her mum, so she never knew what her mother looked like. Or didn't know what she looked like.
Jealous much. Jesus.
Yeah. So, and I think one of my aunts, you know, tried years later. This was just before my mum died. Years and years later, they found a little school photo of her when she was young. So I got to see what she looked like when she was, you know, young. But and my mum did too. But I remember Mum had the dream, and it was a few years before she got diagnosed, and I knew. I already had the warning, you know. And she said to me, I had a dream last night. And because all throughout her life, she used to say to me, I had a dream of my mum, but there was no face. She said she was faceless, but I knew it was my mum. A few years before, she said to me, I had a dream of my mum, but this time it was different. I said, why? She said, I saw her face for the first time.
Wow.
And I knew in that moment that she was coming to say, it's your time's coming.
Yeah.
Prepare
She's-
yourself.
Connecting.
So she recognizes her when she crosses over.
100%.
Mm.
And she knew that that was her mum. And I knew that my mum was going. And I knew that it was going to be a matter of time. But I didn't know how at that point, how she was going to go. So that was a bit, but I did all my crying when I got the intuitive message. So when I heard it, I wasn't crying at all. In fact, I didn't cry until I met my husband 6 months later. And that's, it was 2 months after we were seeing each other as friends. And he invited me around to his place for dinner. And I remember when he first met me, and on my mother's dying bed, I was the one that said to Mum, when you get to the other side, Mum, please send me the right one, because I'm ready. I'm ready now. And there is no more lessons to be learned there. But whatever you do, make sure the signs are so big that I don't miss them, because when it comes to that department,
Good
I
request.
ignore everything.
We should all ask that more often, I'd say.
Yeah, we need bigger signs because we're a bit daft.
Yeah.
And so and make it so the signs are so big, that I can't miss it. And it was, the whole story was the most incredible thing. My goodness, this story is so big.
Love the stories.
So when Mum died, and of course I didn't cry at all. And I could say that I was in a state of shock the whole time, really, because it was surreal. I remember I went back to Sydney after the funeral in Melbourne and everything, and I'd go to pick up the phone and, she's not there, not that way, And I remember cooking in the kitchen one day, and as I was cooking, because it was all quiet, and I was it was a meditative state, and I heard her voice say, "You forgot the oregano, or you forgot the pepper or something." And I had to turn around because, it was very loud. It was, "I know you're here, Mum." Thanks.
Wow.
So I could hear her, and she would come in, and I'd get very teary a lot of the times. But the biggest, I'll just explain how I met my husband, because Mum sent my husband. I'll never forget this. I worked very late one night in Sydney, and I was in Balmain. I finished work an hour later than normal. It was 7 p.m. and my car, I was in the process of getting a car. It was getting fixed, and I didn't live far. I could walk, but it was late, and I was hungry, and I thought, oh, what am I going to eat? By the time I get home, it'll be too late to eat. I'll be too tired. I'll just go to that. I just came back from the trip to Vietnam, my first trip to Vietnam. My cousins said I should go because it will help me create new memories and just move on. And, and I thought, that's what a great idea. I'll go, I'll have a holiday, and I'll come back, and, and it won't be so hard to be without Mum, because I just wanted to pick up the phone and speak to her like I used to every day, and you forget that she's not there. And I couldn't even delete her name and her phone number out of my phone for a long time. I think it's still in there, but, I was very close to her, and I loved her a lot. And she was, such a beautiful soul, such a beautiful person, gave her whole life to everyone else. And so I went to this Vietnamese, I heard go to the Vietnamese restaurant.
Yeah.
There's a little Vietnamese restaurant in a little arcade opposite Woolworths in Balmain, in this place in Sydney. And down there, and I used to work in that when I first arrived in Sydney. I had a job for 6 months whilst I was developing my business coaching business, and I went and to earn money to pay my rent and pay my bills. I was selling lingerie out of a lingerie shop. It was in that arcade, and I knew the shops in there. I knew the owners, and there was one of the hairdressers, and I went to say hello, and we were having a giggle about something. I walked out laughing my head off. My head was down. I was heading towards the front door, and I came to the front door of the Vietnamese restaurant, and there was this body in front of me, of course, and I came up to his chest because he was so tall, and I looked up, and there was a lovely man standing there, and he said, "Oh, please, you go first." And we almost clashed at the front door of this Vietnamese restaurant. Anyway, I went into the restaurant and I looked at the menu and there's about 150 dishes. I kid you not, Malaysian,
Yeah.
Chinese,
Yeah.
Vietnamese. And I thought, oh my goodness, what am I going to choose? I didn't know what I felt like anyway. Went through the list and I thought, oh, I know, I'll have chicken sancha bao. You know, and there was vegetable sancha bao and tofu sancha bao and 50 million flavors of sancha bao, and I chose the chicken. And I went outside and I sat down on the little table outside, which had a few magazines on it. And but I was facing the not the where all the shops were deep into the arcade. I was facing out of the street, the other one.
Okay.
And so as I'm daydreaming, looking out at all the cars going past, somebody comes from back in the arcade and is walking alongside, and I look up and he looks at me and he says, oh, are you joining me for dinner? And I said, what?
It's presumptuous.
And of course I didn't quite hear because I was daydreaming. I said, what? And he said, you're sitting at my table. He said to me later on, he said, what an awkward silence. He said, and he said, because when he saw me, he saw the back of me, he said, oh, there's that girl that I nearly bumped into at the restaurant. She's sitting at my table in my chair. Now, I didn't know it was his chair. It was his magazines. I just assumed it was the restaurant's magazines, right? So I actually sat on his table. He put his son in. And when I said, what? He said, you're sitting at my table. They're my magazines. I said, really? Now, I'll never forget that moment. It felt like I was weighing a ton. Somebody was holding me down. I did not
Don't leave.
like a ton of bricks. I felt so heavy because normally I would just get up and move, right? I wouldn't even think twice about it.
Oh my God.
But in that
that's so
moment,
cool.
I thought, I am not getting up from here. I am so tired. And I said, sure, take a seat. Now,
That's hilarious.
Oh, that's so cool.
At all. And anyway, he just had like an angel face, very friendly face. I thought, oh, he's got a refreshing looking face. And I said to him, what's your name? And he said, oh, Stephen. I said, oh, that's nice. I said, my name's Anna. And I said, are you a local around here? You know, I know everyone in Balmain. I mean, I was actually doing when Mum was sick, while she was sick with cancer, I left my business coaching and was doing nanny work. One of my girlfriends was a nanny, and because my mum was a nanny, I grew up with kids my whole life, and cousins had kids and friends had twins, and we were always looking after.
You've done your
so
apprenticeship.
I knew exactly what a great job to do this work. Felt like no work at all. Gorgeous kids. They helped me through my most painful time of losing my mum, actually. And so I knew everybody in the area because all the mums, and I used to go to the mothers' clubs with the kids, and I knew all the locals. And so I said, are you a local around here? And he said, actually, I'm from Drummoyne. I said, okay, that's not far from where I am. He goes, where are you? I said, I'm in Lilyfield. And he said, but I just moved up from Melbourne. I said, Melbourne, that's my hometown. I said, oh, what made you come to Sydney? And he said, actually, divorce and starting a new life. I said, oh, wow, that's tough. That's really tough. I said, and I'm thinking, this guy's really nice. My girlfriend's single. I've got to organise a date for this.
Not thinking of yourself.
You still didn't get it.
Too nice. This guy's too nice to let go. How am I going to bring the conversation around to make it happen, right? And this is what was going through my mind. And at that time, before I started that part of the conversation, the waiter comes out and puts the sancha bao on the table, and I said, oh, thank you. He said, oh, that's not yours, that's his. And I looked at him and I said, what did you order? He said, oh, I ordered chicken sancha bao.
150 dishes.
Wow.
That's interesting. And I said, oh, that's what I ordered. He said, oh, would you like some? I said, no, that's fine. I'm thinking, I don't know you that well, Anyway, it was, and he just had an angelic face, but not for me, not interested. Anyway, so I said to him, I said, oh, how are you finding it, moving into a new state? I said, it took me 2 years to get to know people when I first, moved into Sydney. He said, actually, I'm finding it quite difficult. So, people, when you're older, people sort of stick to their own sort of groups and stuff. I said, yeah, I understand. I said, but don't worry. I said, I've got lots of friends. I've got a really good group of friends. And I said, and I'll organise a catch-up dinner, and, you can come in and join in, and, you'll have an instant family. And,
How sweet are you?
and I was talking up my girlfriend. And I said, I've got this fantastic girlfriend. You've got to meet my girlfriend. She's amazing. And I said, if you give me your number, I'll I'll organise, a gathering and you can come and, be a part of it. He said, oh, do you mind if I ask you for your number? And I'm thinking, I don't really want to give you my number. Anyway, yeah, sure, no problem. I didn't say that to him, and anyway, he says to me, what made you come up? And I said, oh, basically the technology for rehabilitation for, I have a lot of pain, neck, back, and we don't really know what's wrong with me, but there's really good rehabilitation, which is what led me to come here, I believe, because I've met some really good, some equipment here that they didn't have in Melbourne. And that's why I believe, what guided me here. And he said, oh, what happened? I said, oh, 4 car accidents basically within a space of 12 months. I said, I wasn't driving. It was the first 3 were in a taxi. And, the last one, it was a head-on collision. I was just turned 18. And that basically after that, I was, within 12 months, I had severe problems, And he says to me, oh, so we have the meal and everything. And he says, how are you getting home? And I said, taxi.
Yikes, you got to cut
Please
back on
tell me he
taxis.
insisted on driving you. You're banned from taxis. Yeah.
He said to me, he said, oh my goodness me. He said, you've got to please let me drive you home. And I
So
thought,
cute.
I can't believe I'm letting a perfect stranger drive me home. But he didn't know that I had a martial arts background, right? So I thought, well,
You can
I
kick
have
his
no-
ass.
I could take him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Where's your closest weapon?
Yeah.
Over 6'2", but I knew it wasn't a
That's-
problem.
that's
So
great.
he took me home, dropped me off. It was a perfect gentleman. And of
Oh.
course, 2 days later, I get a phone call from him, and I hadn't even had a chance to organise anything. And he said, he texted me and he said, how about I organise and actually book a restaurant because, we met by chance for you and your girlfriend Saturday night. And I said, okay, let me check with my girlfriend and see if she's available. So I ring up my girlfriend. I said, Mims, what are you doing on Saturday night? And I was so excited for her. And she said, nothing. I said, I've got a date for you. Great guy, lovely, lovely guy. He's like an angel. You've got to come. So we organised this dinner.
Not knowing who's wingman.
Yeah.
He had no idea, but I'm setting these two up. And
You
there's
think
nothing-
you're the wingman here.
You're hilarious.
Yeah.
And by the way, I had set up 2 previous couples that married. So I thought I'm good at this.
You're cocky. Yeah.
Anyway, we went to the restaurant and he paid for both of us, which I thought was really unusual. It doesn't happen these days. I thought, wow, what a gentleman. And I said to my girlfriend, he walked us to the car and I couldn't wait to drive off so I could ask her, what did you think? And we were having a ball because we were all the same age and we were talking about our school years and how much fun we were having growing up and what we did, what we used to get up to. And so we all knew the same songs and the same era and everything. And she said, I thought he was an absolute gentleman. She said, what a beautiful man. I said, oh my goodness, thank you. This is fantastic. And she said, Anna, he is not interested in me. I said, what do you mean? She said, couldn't you see it? I said, no, I saw nothing. I said, don't worry about it. I'm not interested. He's yours. Go for it, right? And she said, Anna, I have met all of your exes. And I'm telling you right now, if you don't give this guy a chance, I am never going to speak to you again.
Awesome friend.
That's good friendship. No,
Yeah.
that's good.
And I said to her, I can't. I've just lost my mum. I'm grieving. I have no feelings. I'm in shock still. I don't know what I'm feeling. It's not good to get into a relationship right now. And we were having this discussion the next morning, the following day. And I said to her, please just go out. And she goes, no, he's not interested in me. I've made my decision. I'm not going there, Anna. She said, just go, you go out with him as a friend. Why don't you go out with him as a friend? And I went, in that moment, I get a text message from Stephen. And I thought, and I read it, and it said, hi, Anna, I really enjoyed last night, and I really, really like you. And I thought, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? I don't know what to do. I have to be honest. I have to tell him the truth. I can't lead anyone on. If all I can give is friendship, I need to let him know. It's not fair, right? And so I thought, I'm just going to be honest. So I texted back and said, hi, Stephen. Yes, it was a really lovely, lovely night. Thank you so much for your text message. But all I can give you right now is friendship. And that's all I can give you. And he told me later that he was driving and he had to pull up. So he obviously, and by the way, my husband is just as intuitive as I am. And so he already knew, right? But I didn't, because I'm still in shock and I'm still grieving. And I was numb. So I was afraid of letting anybody in whilst I was in that state, because I didn't trust myself whether I would make the right decision. So, and I don't want to hurt anybody. So, you know, that was where I was coming from. And then he went silent, and I thought, oh no. And I thought, I'm just going to ring him and explain it, you know. So I rang, because I didn't want to upset him.
Yeah.
Nice person. And I said, look, Stephen, I rang him and I said, look, you know, you've got to understand, I lost my mum 6 months ago. I'm a little bit numb. I don't really know what I'm feeling. I said, you know, I can give you friendship at the moment. That's all I can give you. And you know, and he goes, that's okay. I'm happy with that. So he was very smart. And we dated, and he said, oh, look, because we promised, because it was his birthday the following week, and because he shouted, me and my friend promised we would take him out for his birthday and shout him. And I said, look, we said that we were going to take you out next week for your birthday. And he said, well, actually, he said, my aunt and uncle are coming from overseas, from the States, and they've invited me over for dinner, and then we're going to go out for the rest. So would you like to come with me? I said, yeah, sure. I got off the phone thinking, what am I doing? I'm meeting the family. Oh my God, but I had told him I was just going to give him a friend. To cut a long story short, we dated as friends. He was a perfect gentleman for 2 months. And then one night he invited me round to his place for dinner. And here's the first big sign for me. The other signs didn't count at this
funny.
point. And so we had dinner, and he had a big seat, 3-seated couch, and I sat on the couch, and he played. There was something on the screen that he played. He was playing some sort of something musical, and he sat on the single couch. And as I could see him and I could see the screen, and all of a sudden the screen blacks out. It was a black screen, and my mother's name came up in big white fat writing across the screen. And I took a deep breath in, and I went into shock. And I looked at him, and then I burst into uncontrollable crying, and I couldn't breathe from the crying. And I was, for about 5 minutes, the tears were pouring out. And because I realized, obviously, I hadn't cried since Mum died. Remember, I did all my crying about a year and a half.
Oh, Molly.
So I hadn't actually
Popped it.
and so that's why I was so numb, block. Maybe I was trying to protect, myself. And I was crying, and I remember he got off the couch and went on his knees, and I'm looking down and I'm bawling, and he wouldn't even put his hands on my, he was trying to come, he wouldn't even touch me because, he wanted to be a gentleman. But I remember the look in his eyes, and as he was looking up at me, I remember that look, and that look said, and this is what I felt 24 hours later when I kept thinking about that look in his eye, it said, I'm here for you for the rest of your life. I could see the look, and that's all. He didn't say anything, but after, when I came to, and I said to him, what did you put on this? What did you put on the screen? He said, I put a Jack Johnson DVD. He was touring Europe, and of course he was touring France, and my mother's name's Paris. So Paris came across the screen.
Wow.
And so that night he took me home, and something happened. Something cracked. Something cracked open. And for 3 days I couldn't stop thinking about Stephen. And I thought, what is going on here? Why am I thinking about Stephen? And I kept thinking about the look in his eye. And surely I can't be feeling anything. This is just, I might be going through a rebound, still not trusting my judgment myself. And because of all the past relationships that were all about suppressing my spiritual side, and I wanted to run a mile, so it was a scary place to go into a relationship when I was vulnerable. And by Monday, so that was Saturday night, by Monday I couldn't wait to hear from him, and I'm thinking, is he going to ring me? I need to work it out. I need to work out what I'm feeling. he called me, and I remember he was talking, and I was just
Yes. Like
Can't
a
work
switch
it out.
flicked and you're just like another planet now.
absolutely. And I'm thinking, I think I like this guy. And as he's talking and talking, he's already worked it out. He's worked me out down to a T that something's changed. And he said, "Are you going to invite me around for a coffee or what?" And I said, "Oh, yes. Come around for a coffee." So he came around and I couldn't wait for him to leave. We talked till 1 o'clock in the morning. Nothing happened. Perfect gentleman. And again, and I thought, oh my goodness, I think I like him. And now this is Thursday. He rings up and he says, "Oh, I'm just on my way home picking up some dinner. Have you had anything to eat? I'm at a Thai restaurant. How about I bring some Thai around? What about, your flatmate? And does she want me to?" And I said, "Hang on, let me ask her." And I went up to her and she goes, "I'm not here." You got to work it out. And I said, "Okay." So he came over that night, and I remember after dinner we sat on the couch, we were talking, and he was at one end and I was at the other end. And I said to her, "Stay for 30 minutes." I'd said to my friend, "and then disappear." Because the only way I'm going to know is if I kiss this guy. It's the only way I'm going to know.
Yeah.
Of course, he said to me, the other night when I said to you, "I'm here for you," "I'm here for you." He said that, and he said, "I really mean it." He didn't say, "I'm here for you for the rest of your life." That was what his eyes were telling me.
Gotcha.
So I pounced on him, and that kiss lasted a whole hour. And during that kiss, I knew that I was going to spend the rest of my life with him.
Oh,
Like that.
Aw, that's
But
the
the
cutest
sign-
story ever.
It was beautiful, but the signs came later. So I got more signs from my mother. So about 6 months later, we bought a house, we moved in together, and I was really feeling the loss of my mum. It was the first Easter, and I kept saying, "Mum, can you see my new bow? Can you see our new home? Give me a really strong sign. I need to hear from. I need some contact from you." And that weekend we had an event to go to, and the founder of the company had written a book about Jesus, actually, very interesting. And when we were talking to him, he said, "How long have you two been together?" And we said, we're just engaged. We just got engaged. He said, "Do you know that in the first 12 months of relationships, most people don't last when they move in together?" He said, "I'd like to invite you tomorrow. I'm having a small talk, a gathering at a cafe in North Sydney, and it's really about some miracles that have happened in my life and with my family. And I'm going to be talking about those miraculous events. And I would like you two to come. And if you come, I'll give you an autograph sign in my book." And I said, "Okay, we'll come," because it was an invitation. I thought that was beautiful. And when we went there, it was interesting. I woke up that morning and I didn't know what to wear out of the 5,000 outfits. And I woke up with the thought, I'm going to wear that outfit. Now, half time during this event, I went to the ladies, and there was this elderly lady in front of me, in her probably 70, 75 years of age, she would have been.
Mhm.
And she turned around, we were in the queue, and she turned around and she said, "What a beautiful brooch you're wearing." And she puts her hand on the brooch. And I said, "Oh, thank you. That was my mother's." And she said, "Yes, I know. Your mother's standing right here." And of course, I started tearing. And
In the toilet line. I love that.
Yeah.
and she says to me, "Your mother wants me to give you a message, and she wants you to know that she absolutely loves your new home and your new man."
Oh, wow.
Oh, I got so many goosebumps.
And I said to her, you don't know what you've given me
Oh,
right now. I said, "Thank you so much." I said, "But please, would you do me the biggest favor and come out and meet my husband and tell him exactly what you just told me, because I need a witness. No one is ever going to believe this." And she said yes.
And
she said
probably
to me,
including yourself.
"That's
You
right."
need a witness so that he can say, "No, she did say that."
yeah, it was real. It did happen. Yeah.
And she said, "Anna, did you know to wear your mum's brooch? Because that's how your mum got my attention."
Mm.
And I said, "Actually, that's interesting." I said, "I woke up in the morning and it was like somebody dropped the thought in my mind about what outfit to wear, which had the brooch on it."
Already on it, yeah.
Yeah. And she said, "Well, your mum implanted that thought in there. She wanted you to wear that so that she orchestrated the whole thing." And I said, "Oh." And then she said something very interesting to me. And she said to me, she said, "She's got another message for you." I said, "Okay." She said, your brother I said, I don't have a brother. And she said, I said, are you talking about my nephew? She said, he's going to go into hospital. But she didn't say, I said, no, I said, my nephew. And she said, no, it's somebody your age. How old are your nephews? I said, oh, they're quite young. And she said, no, it's somebody close to your age. That really baffled me. And she said, he's going to go into hospital and it's going to be a serious operation, but he's going to make it and he's going to be fine. I didn't actually know who she was talking about. And of course, a couple of weeks later, I get a phone call from my aunt, and her son had open heart.
Oh, wow.
Cousin, right?
He wasn't my cousin, he's my actual godbrother.
Oh, okay.
My mother baptized him.
Oh, right.
He was younger than me.
That kind of aunt. Yep.
And when my aunt told me, I said, and she was crying, and I said, don't worry, he'll be fine. Everything will be fine. He's going to be fine. I know he will be fine. A big serious operation, you know. They had to saw through the ribs and reset.
Yep.
So it was a really big deal. Anyway, so that was that came out. But she came out and she met my husband, and she looked up at him and she looked at me and she said to my husband, your mother-in-law wants to give you a kiss. And she leaned over and she kissed him on Stephen on the cheek. And I saw Stephen receive this. He was almost trembling. I could see the energy my mum gave from her to my husband. Fiance at the time, and Stephen teared, and that's how I felt, you know, in the bathroom. So we got given this incredible love in that moment. So good. So that was, I'd have to say, and we got a lot of signs. And before Stephen actually proposed, he was in South Africa, and so these are just a few of the other signs leading up to the proposal. Stephen was in South Africa and he was on his way back, and he said to me, I'll be back at this time around dinner. Be ready, we'll go out and have some dinner. I said, okay, great. And so I went out to Norton Street in Sydney. It's like, I could walk and go to the supermarket. And as I was walking, before I got to the supermarket, there was a store. And it was almost like somebody just said, go in there, and pushed me in there. And I walked into this shop, and I'm standing there and thinking, what am I doing here? I don't need any clothes. I don't need any scarves. And why am I in here? And as I look up, the entire shop's wallpaper was Paris, 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 Paris everywhere. And I'm thinking, my mother's trying to tell me something. And of course, that night, Stephen proposed.
Oh.
Wow. That is so incredible. It's really important to explain certain things as well, like where you talk about miracles or you talk about signs. I can't remember what saint said it, but one of the saints, I wish I knew that, I'd sound so theologically intelligent. But one of the saints said that, talked about miracles and how, for them, they call it God, whatever, the universe, God works in miracles, but does not need to break the laws of nature to do so. It's so funny how we expect like some crazy thing, or we explain away stuff like, oh, the light shone down on there. It's like, yeah, there were clouds and the sun went through, and it's like, yeah, well, that's how it happened. But the sign is still there. You know, Paris, it's like, it's a DVD. It was in Paris, no kidding. But that didn't change the effect it had immediately on you to release that energy beforehand.
Yes.
And now this shop, clearly Paris, no one intuitively wrote Paris on the walls. It was part of some
and you got
kind of
pulled
thing
in there. So
but it's such an important sign that you shouldn't just explain away signs just because it didn't break the laws of nature.
Yeah,
That's right. And this kept happening. And just
Wow.
my husband and I had to go, and the last one I'll tell you about the signs was when she's been there the whole time with signs, but just one I want to mention, it was the 1 year anniversary of her passing. And we had to go to Melbourne for that service, and Stephen wanted to come with me. And we were at the airport, and I was nervous. I was nervous because, it was like when I don't like people to see me vulnerable, especially the people that a lot of them had hurt me. And, I was going to facing these people at my mother's funeral, and some of them were there. The biggest one was my sister, and, and I'm always having to stay calm because she gets to me. And in the past, and I knew she would sabotage for me, and of course the opportunity, and she did. But on the way to the airport, when we got there, I was in a shop. We were waiting to kill time for the plane, you know, for us to board. And this whole key ring stack of key rings, and I was just staring at it. I didn't touch it. And all of a sudden, one dropped from the middle. I'm thinking, how did that even fall down? And I went to pick it up. And of course,
The Eiffel
Paris.
Tower. The old Paris. I was going to say the Eiffel Tower or Paris. Yeah.
Paris. And so, and I said to my husband, look, just fell
Yeah.
out. I don't know how it fell out. Because
I love that.
and so it was those little things that I knew.
Mm.
Mum was saying, I know you're coming. It's okay. I'm here. Don't worry. I'm not down there. You know, just a reminder. Of course, I know she's not down there. I mean,
Doesn't
seeing
mean we
it,
don't need it.
You can't do it for yourself. It's too close. And even though I'd hear her and I'd feel her and she would comfort me, one time I know she kissed me on the cheek because it woke me up.
Mm.
And one time she moved my hair because she used to do that when I was young, and I felt it and it woke me up, and I knew she would come, you know, and visit to comfort me if I was going through something internally. So yeah, it was a very beautiful, you know, my husband has been my knight in shining armor, and he certainly saved me. He came at the perfect time. Because at that, you know, in that 12 months of meeting Stephen, it was 6 months after Mum died, and then within that 6 months we got engaged, and he flew me overseas to Paris for 2 weeks because that was my goal before my 40th birthday. He made my dream come true. So that all happened, and we went to Mum's 1 year anniversary of her passing, all in the space of 12 months, you know, from
Wow.
the time
Yeah,
that
what a
my Mum
great-
passed. So it was an extraordinary time.
And you had to do all of that energy work just before you could go on to this like incredible love story, but it's not just a love story, it's finding yourself as well in all of that, you know.
Yeah, and learning to trust signs. I know you've helped so many people that will be listening to this because they
Oh.
don't realize how signs like are so easy like that. Like they make it more complicated than it needs to be. And that's how your mum's watching over you. So that's been a great help. I noticed so many listeners that be like, oh my gosh, yep. And they're going to pay way more attention to the signs and believe that they are, not just think they're coincidences, because it's
Yeah.
no such thing.
That's
what
right.
it's- Yeah.
And I have actually used the story on women who have lost hope
Mm.
of finding the right partner. And I'd say,
Mm.
you need to ask. I said, if you ask, it will come to you. But you have to believe. I said, if you don't believe it, you're not going to create it. And I said, you have to believe. And so, and I tell them my story, and they'd go, wow. And this actually happened with my cleaner. This happened with my cleaner. And she, next time I saw her, and I said, how come you're not cleaning anymore? You know, where's my normal cleaner? And she said, I met someone.
You got to stop giving advice to people that like work for you. What the heck?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I know. My cleaner, and she said, I did what you said. I asked and I prayed and it came.
Beautiful.
Awesome.
And I thought,
Manifesting
wow.
extraordinaire. It's simpler than it seems.
Exactly. We don't realize sometimes how simple, if we ask and we shall receive. But, you know, when I met Stephen, we hadn't actually, when we bought the house, all the healing started to happen. It all happened around the same time. We still hadn't found what was wrong with me. We were getting closer. But when we bought the house, the actual doctor who diagnosed me for the first time was right around the corner. That's how I found it. So when I met Stephen, we bought the house. It was around the corner from the doctor. So you can imagine, from the age of 19, and I met Stephen at 39. So by the time I was 40, I still, you know, that was the time that I found the treatment.
It's a long time.
From 19 to 40, I had been suffering the whole time.
So what were you diagnosed with, Anna?
So the condition, there was a few conditions, but the main one was what we call spondylolisthesis, which is what we call, so the vertebra normally sits on top of one another, and you hold up the weight of your head, which weighs the most. But in my case, and we think that it was there from a very young age, I had what we call a forward fracture of the L5. So therefore, my spine was like that, and my, you know, so there was, I was messed up. And basically, because it was there for such a long time, and theoretically, the whole, I should have collapsed. And that's why a lot of the times, you know, I had paralysis for a year and a half, but when I got nerve grow back through my studies and through my supplementation, I had 24/7 pain. And that was the problem. And that was because the whole body was trying to support the weight of the head. It had to twist up and
Yep.
get into positions where it would,
Yep.
and I shrunk, and the whole ribs collapsed, and the whole vertebra was twisting up to protect the spinal cord because the vertebra wasn't where it should have been, it should have collapsed. But all the soft tissue and muscle and ligaments that are all intricate all throughout from the top right down to the base was all so twisted up. The doctor said, I've never seen anything so severe in my life, in all my years of working. You've twisted up. He said, how are you surviving? Like, how are you going? He said, you should be bedridden. I said, well, I was. I said, I take some things that keep inflammation down, that give me more energy, that keep pain levels down to help me get through the day. I said, but it's still there because I can't do anything. You know, everything I do, walking up the stairs, I can't lift clothes out of the washing machine. I can't hang clothes. It affected my whole life, my day-to-day. I couldn't carry any shopping bags, anything. And so he said to me, when I walked in the door, I remember, and I thought, oh, so far I had tried every other chiropractor, nothing had worked. And I walked in and I said, I've never seen you here. I said, I've never noticed that you were here. I said, I've been here for 6 months. He said, that's how long we've been here, 6 months. I said, really?
Wow.
Interesting. I said, oh, what type of chiropractic do you do? Because at this point, every chiropractor had said, you've got a condition that we can only manage. We can't reverse it. We can't really do much. We can manage it, but we can't do much about it. But they never ever said, you've got spondylolisthesis or you've got a forward fracture and this is what's happening. No one explained anything.
Yeah.
And so when I walked in the door and I said, he said, I said, what type of chiropractic do you do? Because I'm thinking if it's something that I haven't heard of, maybe I'll try it because I've tried everything else, other style of chiropractic. He said, actually, this is a new style of chiropractic. I said, really? I said, I've got spondylolisthesis because I was expecting him to turn around and say, oh, you've got that. Oh, I didn't know at the time what it was called. No, I did. I had just been told by a different chiropractor the name of it.
So you got the name of it, yeah.
Yeah, I had the name. And I said, I've got spondylolisthesis. And he says, we can help you with that now. There's, this is new advanced.
Wow. Of course.
And I just about fell off and I had tears in my eyes and I went, really? I didn't believe him. And he said,
okay, so some things are miraculous then.
Yep.
Now, let me tell you, when I did the interview, when I woke up with severe excruciating pain at 19 years of age, that treatment had not even been invented yet.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
They were working on it, right? So it hadn't even been released. It was only
Until
released 15 years or something prior, 10 years prior or something like that. And so he said to me, and this was very interesting, he said to me, if you bring your husband tonight when he finishes work, bring him along because he needs to understand. Because when we start this, he said, you're going to go through a lot. He said, your husband will need to understand what that will be. Now, if he had explained to me what I was going to go through, I don't know whether I would have committed. I probably would have been very painful the first couple of years. I mean, my head had crushed, had been twisted, and the skull had compressed, and the ears even, and the whole jaw and everything was not in the right position. Everything was out of whack, and my ribs had collapsed. My shoulders were like this. If you see pictures of me, and they've taken pictures from the first year every year, and you can see the change. So when he took the side profile, I remember he said, Anna, you're standing up straight. We've got all the x-rays, right? Because the x-rays show the vertebra, and you can see 10 years, you can see the difference. And I've got it here. I can even show you. You will not believe it. But this is without surgery, right? Because surgery was not successful. They wanted to operate the specialist, but they did. And I said, what are you going to operate on? Whereabouts are you going to operate? I'm in pain from head down to the bottom. We don't know what's wrong with me. You don't know what's wrong with me. What part are you going to operate on? And I heard that it was 5% successful. I said, no.
They just want to open you up.
Yeah.
That's right.
The
scar tissue, it's worse. You end up
of course.
So I thought, I got myself into this place. Yeah, I got myself into this somehow. There's got to be a way to get back out. There's got to be a way to undo whatever.
So these methods actually worked? That changed the shape and everything?
Whole life.
Wow.
Changed my
Look at you
whole
now, like.
and
That's
when
amazing.
you see the photos, and this is why we're going to do a documentary, because nobody knows about this. And I said to him, and I said, so what is the end point of this condition if I never had it treated? He said you would end up walking like this and you'd never be able to get up. So those sometimes you see old people in the street
Little lady,
that walk completely like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
that's how I was going to end up. That's where I was heading. Because
Wow.
the body, the spine, it will do everything to, your body is an intelligent being. It will do everything to protect the spinal cord.
Yep.
So if that meant you have to go down to that level for it to protect the spine,
It'll do
will
it. Yeah.
Right? It won't snap. It can't hold the weight of that head because it's the heaviest bone in our body. And so nothing worked. No, nothing. Yoga was the worst thing. Pilates, everything was pulling me forward.
Yeah.
Even worse, because that was
You're fighting against what your body's trying to do.
Exactly. So they had to bring me back,
Wow.
slowly. But at the same time, they had to untwist it.
I was going to say, you got to fix the reason why it was
You've
like
been
that.
through hell.
Hell and back. If you can understand that my pelvis had become so tiny, like size 4 to 6, and I have never been that size, even at the age 12.
Oh, wow.
8. You have
So
to
it's just
understand.
compressed in.
Everything to even my toes. So I had a whole size. The foot had, the toes had come in, my fingers had come in. So the whole
Like
body,
you're trying to disappear.
I had completely compressed. And when you see it, I look back and I go, oh my goodness, look how I looked. You can see. And if you see all this of how all this was here, all the bones and this bone, my chiropractor said, I can't believe. He said, I'm looking at that image of you. He said, he said, if I couldn't see the head, I wouldn't even know it was you because it's a whole different body.
That's amazing.
So that's how we can transform. You know, we can absolutely physically transform. And I have lived through that transformation. And we've still got a little bit of a way to go, but the untwists are amazing. And I don't have the migraines. I don't have those.
Wow.
You know, horrible. The first 5 years of the treatment was very hard. The first 3 years were in my head, all in my head and neck. Oh my goodness.
So many people would have just given up and said, this hurts too much, I'm done.
I was used to pain, emotional, physical, from martial arts. I was conditioned.
Wow. No
and
wonder.
my husband witnessed it all. He had to carry me a lot of times when I couldn't
What a
walk.
wonderful man.
Sometimes for 2 weeks at a time, I couldn't walk. I remember one time, my husband's a sailor and I'd never been sailing, but when at the early stages of untwisting me in the first couple of years, you know, we were out on the yacht one day, and because of the motion, I got stuck in a position and I couldn't actually move. I couldn't get up. I couldn't walk.
Oh my goodness.
And it was like you become stuck in a position because the body had gone to a point of untwisting, but it got stuck. It needed help to get to the next point of untwisting. And so he had to carry me. We had to get back on shore and had to carry me to the doctor to get an emergency. Of course, these things happen on a Sunday.
Yeah. Oh, that's the only time.
And
I've had clients like that when I was a PCA, like in aged care. I'm thinking of people that are all stuck and retracted, the gorgeous souls, like they can't move. That's what I'm seeing when you describe that. Holy moly.
Yeah. And it was, and that's why, you know, one of my goals is to get this out to the world, and a documentary and of showing the progress and letting people know out there, because most people would have that fracture and they wouldn't even know. They wouldn't even know they had it. When I inquired about how do you get it, we said, look, sometimes you can, you know, birth is a very traumatic thing for a child and it gets locked up in a certain position. The bones of the vertebra are very, very soft with the baby. And sometimes when you get pulled out in the wrong way, or he said, we've come to the conclusion and that if you know, when we're trying to, if you put a baby, initially you have to put a baby to lie flat, and because it has to develop the muscles in the neck to be able to lift its head, right?
Yeah, you got to always protect the head. Yeah,
10 minutes at a time on the front and on the back, and you have to slowly develop those muscles until they are strong enough, right? Same with walking. They've got to get to the point where, you know, they're all wobbly because they're not haven't developed the muscles yet, and they're pulling themselves up, and when they're ready and they're strong enough, they stand, right? But what we do is something that we shouldn't be doing, and this is what I learned. He said, we do this to a baby, up and down, and the weight is the bottom vertebra, right?
Right.
And we put them in baby bounces.
Yeah.
Right? And if the bottom vertebra cannot support the weight, it will push one of the vertebra forward.
Oh, wow. No, I used to put my kids in one of those things that hang in the doorway with the musical mat.
But we all did.
Jolly something.
And-
Oh,
So
and-
Jolly jump.
chiropractors probably call them spinal compression systems. It's like,
Yeah,
oh, cool,
exactly.
yeah, put your kid in
That's
a spinal
exactly
compression.
what it is.
Yeah.
And do you know how they came to that
Wow.
conclusion?
Oh, what's that?
And this is very interesting. And I asked, he said, well, this is what the conclusion is that, you know, Eskimos, people that live in igloos, right?
Inuits, yep.
So when they have a baby, they wrap up the baby and they don't lie them flat because of the cold. They
Ah.
sleep upright.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
And
That's so cool.
all of them have high,
So interesting.
they've all got high spondy problems. And so they kind of looked at the lifestyle of how did they all end up with spondy, with a
Wow.
spondy problem, spondylolisthesis.
I'm not getting that.
It's because they're not lying down
Actually.
flat.
Because
Wow.
the muscles haven't strengthened enough
compressing
and the
down.
compression starts too
Wow.
early.
Who's going there
Right.
educating the Eskimos and so they know that, so they don't do that?
So I don't know, but I'm actually, so the plan is that, and there's a group of the chiropractors that have worked with me, and I had Dr. Chris Gilchrist who started with me. He was the one that I found around the corner.
Mhm.
And then and then when I went on holidays around, and there was Dr. Adam Schober who was in North Sydney, and then I moved, we're traveling around the world, and they have them all around the world now. So I could go wherever I'd look up on a map and find where they were. And I saw one of the girls in Monaco when we were traveling. I saw one of the girls in Singapore, Jaipai, when I was there. And when I came back to Melbourne, they had referred me to Dr. Richard Martin and his two colleagues, Sam and Ben, brilliant. And when I came back to Sydney, I actually got told who to go to. My intuition, my guides
Wow.
actually told me, go to Dr. Hooman. Now,
Wow.
I thought, why would I go to, why Dr. Hooman? It actually turned out that he was one of the closest, but there were others around. I thought, why was I told to go there? And when I had been to the others before, but I was told to go to Dr. Hooman. So there was something either I had to give him, or there was something that was going to eventuate, and it's eventuating, because I had a discussion with Dr. Hooman, who's been my brilliant. Now, he had a double spondy like me. So they had worked on him. So he actually
wow.
understood me better than
wow.
anyone, because he had gone through the condition and had
Yeah.
double
Yeah.
both of his vertebrae. And he had the one.
Wow.
So, and he got unraveled, and he's
Unraveled.
Oh my God.
a miraculous, you know, and I said to him, you know, I would love to be able to take the world stage and get this out, do a documentary. And that's why I've been, you know, pushing for the x-rays and the photos for the progress. Nobody knows about this.
So this is why you do a lot of research as well, and this is why you're so interested in the medical research. And I can see how now, because of obviously your journey as well, but I can see how now, you know, your real calling is pulling in so many different aspects, including the intuitive, spiritual side of things. That's all part of the same.
Mick, if I
picture.
didn't have that, I would
Yeah.
never have been able to find these people. I wouldn't have
Yeah.
had the intuition and the
That's
guidance.
amazing.
And you help so many now.
You know, the healing led me. It was actually my energy healer who. This was amazing. I mean, she healed me from the most incredible. You know, Patricia Scanlon. Thank you for saving my life, and because of your work, it has saved and helped thousands of people, and so many more that I'm not even aware of. She came to me towards the end of the sessions, and she knew how much pain I was in, and she knew that I was struggling physically, and she came to me and she said, she had this bottle of this product, and she said, you need this. She shoved it in my face. And I said, what is it? And she said, I don't know, but apparently people that have been in pain for 30 years take this and then they're not in pain anymore. I said, really?
It's called fentanyl.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
She's a drug dealer.
And I said, I've tried. I said, I have tried everything, but you haven't tried this. So I said, I'll try anything, because I had been trying everything.
Yeah.
Everything I could get my hands on that was natural. Remember, at this point, I had already been told no more medication. My liver was very badly damaged.
Oh, it had to be natural. Yeah.
10 years of pain medication. When the
Damn.
doctors came back to me, I was horrified, because I thought, if my liver dies, that's the end.
Mm.
So how am I going to save? What do I do? And
Oh, God.
so I said, I'll take anything. If you say it's going to help me, I'll take it. So I went home and I took it religiously. And within 2 weeks, something changed. I felt a bit brighter. I
Mm.
felt a bit up. I felt a bit less pain, less throbbing. You know, it was milder, but it was there. It was still there, but not as severe. And I thought, what is this? So that's where my investigation started. And that was the point where I was finishing up with her. And she said to me, you got to get your physical body right. And by the way, Anna, you can now do the spiritual work that I'm doing. Now, I actually started working. I didn't know that. And she said, I said, I don't know what you do. I can't do what you do. She said, yes, you can. I've given you the codes. You just have to be present and you don't have to do anything else because your energy alone, your codes within you are the code. She said, and you will be channeling much higher vibrations through Jesus and they will be doing even greater healings than that you will even be aware. You won't even know what you're capable of.
Wow.
And so
Okay.
I said, okay.
What was the stuff? What was the stuff?
Yeah,
Not
what's in
that
the
that's not
bottle?
incredible,
Okay.
but like
So
I'm stuck on what this stuff
yeah.
Yeah, so
was.
hang on.
So I went away and I started, all I did was, I actually needed some validation from other people that this was just not my imagination. It
Definitely.
wasn't spiritual healing. So I
Yeah,
actually
because you're not nuts.
I gave the product to my girlfriend, and she had a stroke at 28 and she had a sore arm. She was working behind a cash register, and I wanted to help her, and I said to her, look, take this and tell me if you feel better. And she said to me, Anna, I can't believe it. My pain, my arm, it's gone. And I said, really? She said, yes. I said, okay, I'll continue to keep taking it. And I rang up one other girlfriend looking for work because I thought, I need to get back out there. I'm feeling like I can work now. So I rang up my friend who was in insurance, and I said, have you got any deals? We used to do, whatever deals, one-off deals that were going to raise funds for, developments or whatever it was. We would marry, the project with the people that were looking to.
Okay.
And so, and I rang her up and I said, Mona, have you got any deals for me? And she goes, where have you been? You've disappeared for the last 12 years. I haven't heard from you. And, last I heard you weren't doing well. And I said, yes, but I'm better now. I'm better. I'm doing really well. And she says, you sound amazing. You sound, vibrant. And what happened? I said, I started taking this stuff and it changed my life in a couple of weeks. She said, do you think I should be taking it? And I said, what's wrong with you? She said, nothing, but I'm 20 years older. Do you think I could do with a bit more energy? I said, sure, no problem. So I sent her some. And then something else happened. I got work elsewhere. And next thing I know, about 12 months later, I get a phone call from my energy healer's friend. And he was involved in the business side of this. It was a glutathione enhancement supplement. Now, I didn't know what glutathione was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
This is where I began my genetic research and my genetic studies and how I met the geneticists and had my genes tested, my husband's genes tested. And so it opened up a whole new area of knowledge and understanding. Mm-hmm. And she said, so I lost my train of thought there. Spoke too soon, Xavier. Where was I?
Glutathione.
Yes. Oh, yes. So he rang me. And he said, Neil, God bless him, was my mentor, an absolutely gorgeous guy, gorgeous man. Neil McCreary, I love you dearly, wherever you are on the other side. He crossed over in 2016 when I was in Greece holidaying. So, but I got to speak to him. And Neil said to me, Anna, have you gone into your website and into your back office to have a look at what's going on? I said, what back office are you talking about? Now, nobody explained anything about the business. I didn't know anything about it, about this glutathione enhancement. Product was just arriving and the money was going out of my credit card every month, and that's all I knew, right? And same thing with my friends. And he said, Anna, he said, open up your computer. I said, okay. So I opened up my computer and he said, now click here, go there. And you see that number down on the bottom where it says 48,000. I said, yeah, I see it. He said, that's yours. I said, what? What? What are you going on about? And he said, Anna. I said, listen, Neil, I'm familiar with direct marketing. I said, but you actually have to do work. I said, I haven't done anything. I said, I've just told 2 people. He said, yes. And that one person that you told, Mona Leung, has introduced it to an entire, community.
Wow.
And he said, these are all have just because of this one person. I said, really? So I get on the phone to Mona. I said, Mona, I said, you've been busy. And she said, yeah. She said, this product's amazing. It's helped so many people. I said, I want to meet these people. I need to hear what's happening.
How
Yeah.
beautiful are you? Because other people just wouldn't care. They'd just be excited by the money.
Yeah,
So I love that.
that's
I love that straight away that you want to go hear from these people and find out how it's helped and you
Yeah,
actually care.
that's right. And I've never been interested in money. Yeah, you need money and yes,
Yeah,
I
but
want a lot because I want a more than a mediocre life, but it's never my motivation
Yes.
at all. It's
Yeah.
Yeah.
nothing.
It helps.
So yeah, and so she organized a whole room of people for me, of all these people that had these unbelievable experiences. And I went down there and they stood up one by one and they told me. And they were all thanking me because if it wasn't for me, they wouldn't have had these recoveries.
Wow.
Oh my goodness me, I need to support this. This is important. And of course, I was just learning about the importance of it actually and how critical it was to the human cell. And so I worked in that space and had, built an entire organization. There was about $300,000 worth of orders going through every month that was created by, started with
That's amazing.
two people. And so, and for me, it was all about meeting the people and hearing about the recoveries. That was what I loved. My work was always about taking someone from here to here, whatever it was, whether it be life coaching, business coaching, health coaching, doing the spiritual work. It was you made a change, you made a difference, and it was positive. And that's what I am. That's my reward. That's my gift.
Yeah.
And that's what I do. And so that led to the technology that I'm with today and the company that I'm with today as the founding partner of this company. It was actually, we now have the same formulators who developed the most advanced version of it. And I got the intuitive message that that was before the formulators contacted my colleagues in America to say, we've got the most advanced version, do you want it? I rang them and said, surely by now the scientists would have developed the next version. And the reason I was looking for another version is because I got the message there was a more advanced version. And 2, because I actually pulled out of the actual business because the people in charge were not doing the right things by the people working in it. But that was the best product on the market. So I continued to help people with the product, although I wasn't interested.
Integrity.
In the company.
Right. And but there was nothing else. So I stayed with it until I got the message that, yes, there's another one coming. And yes, we're putting it in the right hands this time. And you're going to be leading the way for Australia and New Zealand, by the way. And you're going to be giving them the knowledge about upgrading the ingredients to the latest in genetic research. They need you. And so all this just happened organically because of my intuition, because of this one prayer that I put that led to that beautiful lady, Patricia Scanlon, who was working with Jesus. I prayed with Jesus. It came
All connected.
It all came out and it all led to all of this.
Yeah.
And basically where I am today, where I'm healing mind, body, spirit as a whole, from a holistic perspective, not just one area, but the whole thing in the order. My guides tell me every time I have a client or every time I come across the order that the healing needs to happen in, whether the energy sessions need to come first because there's a block and we can't move them because we've got to get them. We are our own worst enemies, right? So you have to get them past that point to be able to even introduce a physical change and physical program for them to create the physical change as well. So it depends, so I get all the messages during the sessions and it's been my most amazing work. It's an honor to be able to give and and I pray every day that I'm in a position to give more and give to more people, to give to bigger and more and larger and if I can make a difference And I don't need the accolades. It doesn't interest me. I just want to be able to give as much as I possibly can whilst I'm here.
On the same page, Anna.
You and my gosh, do you give? And my
Oh,
goodness,
gorgeous.
have you given on this podcast some beautiful
Oh my
stories,
goodness.
a romance novel into
Yeah.
a short film, and your
Documentary.
documentary, which will be called One Prayer. I don't know. There's so many
Yeah, that's a
wonderful
great
things to
title.
come out of this, and
Thank
your
you.
sharing's been beautiful.
Thank
Oh, my
you
goodness.
so much for having me, Nick and Xavier, Optimistic Xavier. It's been a blessing to get to know you. Thank you, Bridget Holder, for bringing us together, and thank you to
Mhm.
for everything you've done for me. But it's been a blessing to meet a soul sister and have you, it's the most amazing thing.
It is, and we've just been chatting. I had a session with Anna. Anna had a session with me. I know Daniel's been taking that glucosamine that Anna has for his leg, and he's already like doing, because he broke his leg, and he's already been doing exercises with it, and he keeps a weight bearing on it. I'm like, are you not supposed to be doing that yet? And I'm thinking, oh, that's right, he's taking Anna's stuff. So he's like speeding up. The process seems to be so much
Very
faster than
fast.
what he's been told.
Yes.
Yeah, just love having you as a new bestie, which I really appreciate, even though you're another
It's so
state.
funny. I don't know what's the female version of a bromance, because that's exactly what I'm stuck in the middle of
Sisterhood,
here.
I
Yeah,
guess.
Well,
Yeah.
she's the sister I never had that I wish I did.
Yeah.
Ditto.
Well, you got to.
Same.
She's there,
I didn't
and
have a
we've
sister.
witnessed it.
Yeah.
Well, you're
it's-
always welcome back on the show as well.
I'm sure she
it's
has many
just been a
more
pleasure.
stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could go into, and it's just been profound.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, gorgeous.
That's it for another episode. Thanks to our major supporter, Subtle Energy Sciences. Click the link in the show notes to access their full product range of quantum healing technology.
We're blown away by this technology and are so excited to share it with you.
And of course, we really want to hear from you.
Please leave your comments on our YouTube channel, or for those podcast listeners, you can email us at nickandthepsychic@gmail.com to leave your feedback or questions.
I'm a certified hypnotherapist and timeline regression therapist. If you wish to contact me to explore the source of an issue you're facing, just book a session at hearnhypnosis.com and include the promo code MATP for 10% off. You can contact me on Insta and Facebook at Hearn Hypnosis.
Check out my website at optimisticxavier.com.au if you feel you'd like to connect with me as a psychic medium, spiritual mentor, or intuitive coach. Include the promo code MATP for 10% discount. You can also find me on Insta, LinkedIn, and Facebook.
We look forward to connecting with you again next time as we attempt to leave no stone unturned.
Bye.
All right, cool. I reckon that should be okay.